Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to my strike, walkthrough, and guide for the Cerberus Vae 3 in Destiny. It is a level 18 strike that you're going to encounter on Mars, and in my opinion is one of the more fun ones, specifically because of something you're going to see us get right here in the beginning. For weapon recommendations, because there are a lot of Cabal and you will run into some Centurions, I do highly recommend that your secondary weapon do solar damage. It just makes burning through the Centurion shields really easy. For your heavy weapon, bring whatever you like. I personally would prefer a heavy machine gun, but I believe I'm actually using a rocket launcher in this video. Now, this strike doesn't have too many details. It's a very straightforward strike. Early on, you're going to get these interceptors, and you're going to basically try to keep them alive for the first half of the entire strike. You can go through some mini encounters and a boss encounter with the interceptors. If you can have, at the beginning you'll only get 2 interceptors, so somebody's going to feel left out. But later on there will be 4 interceptors that you can get, which basically lets you use them for the entirety of the final encounter. If you can keep them alive, you can use them to take out 3 Cabal majors and then even fight a boss with them. Regardless, though, the first boss isn't too difficult anyway, and until we really get there, all you're doing is riding around on the Interceptor, trying to keep them from flipping over and demolishing things. I would like to say, because I was playing with a friend when we were doing this, that you should try and be mindful of where the other Interceptor is. Like, if you're if you're driving it in the middle of a very narrow path, I should say, try and keep in mind that the person in the other, like this right here, is like, oh, my friend in the Interceptor is is just gonna drive right in front of me. He does it pretty much for the entire first half of the strike. The second half it's kind of harder, but you're gonna have to drive this Interceptor through these really narrow hallways, and it can definitely make things a lot harder. I just did it to him, so I guess I'm pretty guilty of the same thing. But he does it a lot more to me when we actually get inside this part. I swear to you, he does it so much. I'm practically useless in my Interceptor once we get past this part right here. But for the most part, it's going to be standard enemies. It's just going to be your Cabal Centurions, and there isn't really much to say about the first part of the dungeon. When we get to the majors and the boss, I'll be back with some more commentary. But for now, just enjoy the dungeon walkthrough.
Be on the lookout for his lieutenants. They're just as dangerous. Good news. All of his lieutenants are here. We could take down all of his guards.
Alright, so at this point, we're basically going to be entering the second boss encounter. There's 4 interceptors here, like I said there would be earlier. And I hope you guys saw that my friend was pretty much just blocking most of the path before me before. I really couldn't do anything, so to piss him off, I left my interceptor, my not completely broken interceptor, in the middle of the path, so he would have a hard time getting through it. Also, I'm a little bit rusty with the new interceptor. As you can see, having trouble timing my shots precisely, but this is one way I would recommend handling a Colossus and an interceptor. So as soon as you get rid of that Colossus and you move out here, it's, again, just a ton more Cabal that you'll have to deal with. But there is going to be 3 Cabal Majors at this point. As you can see, there is a tower in the distance over there, and that's pretty much where most of your focus is going to be. Now, fortunately, remember when I said to bring a solar weapon for the Centurions? Fortunately, interceptors do solar damage with their blasts, so for this first part, you actually don't need to worry about it so much. The shields are going to break very, very easily. To be honest, the more annoying parts of the Colossus, which, since the interceptor is so slow, you pretty much just have to strafe left and right and try and pop off shots whenever you have a clear one. So I don't know if you can see it right now. I just saw him kind of creep into frame, but the first of 3 Cabal Majors is in the top of the tower, and they are all phalanxes, so they do have the ability to block your interceptor shots if you do not hit them from the back. However, the AI on them is probably the worst I've seen so far in this game. I haven't really seen AI be this bad in this game, but he pretty much refuses to leave the tower. If you just bombard him with interceptor shots, he'll block the majority of them, but if you can get multiple angles on him, you can just sit here and shoot him from a distance. And the other 2 that are going to spawn after him, one of them pretty much did the same thing for us. He just stayed in the tower and let us bombard him with interceptor shots. Sooner or later, he's going to try and leave the tower and turn his back, and then you shoot him and he turns back to block it again. So you can just do this pretty much for the entire first part of this encounter. You are going to get more Cabal, so you're going to see me get off my interceptor here to check if there were any, if there's any loot up there. I don't recommend abandoning your interceptor right where I did right here, because you're going to see when I go back to get my interceptor that it's, well, not going to be good for me. So I'm busy here looking for loot, whatever, and I look back and I'm like, oh, well, this is going to be dangerous. I don't know. I think I do get out of here. Yeah, after getting blasted by a Colossus, yeah, I kind of just say I'm going to go the opposite way and try and get out of here. And for some reason, I think one of my, either the interceptors despawn after you've gotten through a certain point, or one of my allies had their interceptor destroyed and went and took the old one, because at some point in here, I go back and try to get that 4th interceptor that was shown, and it's not there anymore. So at some point, that interceptor was lost to me. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I think I go back to get it right here. And the interceptor does have a boost, but I don't like the way it handles, so I'm gonna avoid using it. Maybe I'm blind and it is here. In fact, let's look. I think maybe it was there on the right. There's usually nope, there's no interceptors. The last interceptor should have been on the right side, because me and my friend grabbed the ones on the left, and the random we had grabbed it from the right side. So at this point, you just have 2 more of those phalanxes and a bunch of Cabal ads to deal with. And as long as you still have interceptors, it's really not an issue. Take out the Colossuses first. Really, they will do the most damage to you and they will be the most annoying. But other than that, you could take this part really, really slow. And until you get to the part after this with the boss, if you have interceptors for the boss, it is a little bit easier. But to be honest, the next boss is fairly easy as a whole, regardless of that. So I'm going to cut out the commentary until we actually get to the boss, because you're going to just see me getting immune shot on this this ultra, this major right here. I always mess up major and ultra. I always forget about majors. So anyway, I'll be back in just a minute when we actually get to the boss.
I'm picking up another one of his lieutenants heading this way. He's in a tank.
Alright, that didn't take as long as I thought it was going to, so let's continue the commentary. So this is the first boss of the dungeon, and it is the Goliath. It is basically like a giant hover tank, and it operates sort of similarly to the Fallen Walker. At times, his attacks feel a little bit easier to dodge, but he does have a few basic attacks that you need to avoid. He just shot off landmines right there. We never got close enough to get hit by those landmines, and I don't remember seeing him do it a second time. He also does have a charged blast attack, and let me tell you, you do not want to be on the receiving end of that charged blast attack. You're going to see what it's like to be on the receiving end of that charged blast attack in about 5 seconds when he decides to shoot me with it. I'm just busy here, but you know, if you can keep your interceptors alive, he dies really, really fast. And then if that happens, you don't have an interceptor anymore. I went around the corner like, oh, I'm going to dodge this blast, then I came back out, and it wasn't exactly the same. But if you aren't in an interceptor, aim for his legs. Now, unlike the walker, his legs they don't actually touch the ground. He's a hover tank. You can actually shoot the hovering parts, like the parts that allow him to hover, and that will be his weak point. You'll do some bonus damage for that. And we actually had some pretty funny things you're going to see here. When I respawn and actually get back into the fight, because my teammates are way better at keeping their interceptors alive than I am. So I'm going to get on my mount right here, and I'm basically just going to go in. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I want to see if he has any short-range attacks that he's going to use on me. But at this point, he's so close to dead, it barely matters. You can actually break the engines on his hover. Well, they put them on fire. I don't know if it really counts as breaking them. But you're going to see what happens when I break one of them in a second here. One of us breaks something. As you can see, the front two ones are on fire. And he's got a few other attacks. He's got homing missiles and things like that. He's just not doing much with them. So I don't know if he lost control of his hover ability there, and he just kind of, you know, fell down the hill into the wall. But it looked like he was going that direction on purpose. But this boss really doesn't do too much. If you have the interceptors, he doesn't take long at all to destroy. Some landmines, he's got some big blasts, he's got some small blasts, some homing missiles, but you shouldn't have too much trouble with him. Any weapon, I recommend. Fusion rifles are also really good if you're looking for a secondary, but any primary weapon, I'm using the Stranger's Rifle right now, and it works perfectly fine. So, moving on to the next part of the dungeon, I am going to cut the commentary. Unfortunately, I am the only one of my team that does not have an interceptor. So I'm just kind of having some fun here, trying to jump off of them. And yeah, like that, I'm riding the interceptor. That's exactly the scene that I was looking for. I'm just going to wait a second before I cut the commentary to see if there's anything specifically that I want to comment on. As you can see, if you have an interceptor, you can ride these things pretty much all the way to the last boss. I'm pretty sure that the room just before the last boss is when we didn't have interceptors anymore. And it really trivializes the whole dungeon and your weapon choices. Sure, like I said, there are Centurions that if you're using a solar weapon, it can really, really help. You're seeing me try to do that here. I think I get killed at some point here because I just walked up too far and I die right here. I'm pretty sure that a Colossus and these legionaries just make short work of me in a second here. Something on my left, yeah. He was just over the hill and I didn't see him, and he just made short work of me. So quite a few Colossus, a few Centurions, a few legionaries. Nothing that you haven't dealt with before. So for now, I'm going to cut the commentary until we get to the last boss. Continue to enjoy the walkthrough, and I'll see you guys in a few minutes. Alright guys, I am back for one last bit of commentary on the last boss of this dungeon. His name is Valus Ta'ark. I'm sure that there's a better way to pronounce that. I don't actually have my sound on. They may have pronounced it at some point during the strike, and I just wasn't able to hear it. He is basically a giant colossus, and he doesn't mess around, this guy. He takes a lot of bullets, so if you have something with high impact, I highly recommend using it. Anything that's really comfortable, though, will work. It's like most of the other strikes, where as long as you're comfortable with your weapon and you're able to constantly put out damage while avoid dying, it's pretty much the same. The biggest two things to dodge are, of course, his machine gun and his missiles. His missiles will make very short work of you, and they are homing missiles. They can occasionally go after multiple targets. As you can see, they're all going for me right now. But later in the fight, I've seen them shoot for other people and then occasionally just lock onto me instead. He is your standard Colossus fight, though, pretty much until the very end. He starts in the far end of the room when you first, enter. And he'll occasionally walk straight through the middle to the other side. At some point, he'll even start walking up on the places where you're hiding up here. They're safe for pretty much the first 80% of the fight. And the last 20%, he'll go into like this berserker rage, where he'll only shoot missiles on top of summoning adds. And he doesn't care. He will walk right up to these areas that you are standing on. Right now, he doesn't care, but at some point, he starts caring. Other than that, there really isn't too much to comment on. I just kept my distance and just went for as many precision shots as I could. Hand cannons, pulse rifles, auto rifles. Again, it really doesn't matter what you're comfortable with. I believe some Centurions may spawn later in the fight, but for the most part, it's just Phalanxes and Legionaries. I don't really remember having to deal with any... If I had to deal with any Centurions, I don't remember it very well. But you'll see it in the video, and those you'll handle like standard. If you have a thermal weapon, you'll pretty much just want to use it for that. As you can see, there are also going to be some Scions. Now, those can actually be quite dangerous to you in this fight, because they can spawn right up here where you are right now, and they can make their way up there very, very easily. So make sure you're always watching your flanks, and you know, just take care of them as they get to you. Don't let them use the shockwave ability that they have on you too often. If 2 or 3 of them does that to you, you're probably going to be dead, and you're going to be needing your allies to come back and save you. Like, I just got hit by it right there. I might even fall right here at some point. Nah, not right now. I think I fall at some point during this fight, but regardless, as you can see right here, the adds can spawn behind you, so keep an open mind as you're dropping the boss's HP. Turn around when you reload to make sure that you're not losing your position and being flanked. You can take them out with a quick super, a well-placed grenade. There's a lot of really easy way to clear out most of these enemies. The Phalanxes are probably the most annoying part, but I'm sure at this point you've already learned how to combat them, and it's not too big of a deal for you. So, like I said, boss, basically a standard Colossus. Has some Scion ads, has some Phalanx ads, has some Legionary ads. If you see a Centurion ad here, you know what to do with it. Just use your solar weapon. You should be good to go. I'm going to cut the commentary for the rest of the video right now. Just be sure to watch when he hits 20%, when he goes missile crazy, because that's really when the fight can be a little bit difficult to do damage, but you'll see how to deal with it just fine. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Enjoy the rest of the walkthrough, and until next time, take care.
Guardian down. We got him. I'll let Commander Zavala know there's one less problem on Mars.
Valis to Ark has finally been defeated in the Cabal Command